Welcome back to LimeStone Terrain Generator tutorial number 3. In this tutorial we'll cover how scenery nodes work. Scenery nodes basically work to place out objects and things like that. And you do that by just including some prefabs in your project. In this case I just included the standard terrain assets which contain ugly looking palm and some trees and things like that. We really recommend you to play around with different textures and different objects in order to make the scenes look really good. Remember, this is just a terrain generator. We haven't provided anything to make the terrain look really good. You have to do that yourself. I mean, we try to create great looking terrains, but we don't care about the environment. You can download other assets for that. So what you do is just like with the alpha maps and in the terrain maps, you have scenery generators. The scenery generators operate in a bit different way here. So right here we got your standard multi-ranged terrain with a nice alpha map on top of it. And how this works is that you just choose a scenery, in this case a tree generator. Oops, you got an error message. You need to assign a detailed prototype in settings first. So you do this by going to the detailed prototypes or tree settings here, where you can add trees to your terrain. Oops, that's incorrect. So we now add an object, and we can just edit that one by choosing, for instance, the pole. Standard looking, standard boring pole. You now see that you can choose a palm here, you can choose different items here. If you add another one, for instance, the big tree here, you can choose palm or big tree as which item here. Now you can't click this one. This one operates, these nodes operate in a different way than the other scenery nodes, than the other terrain nodes. You have to couple them to a scenery combiner, which looks like this. And this one has lots of blue inputs. Again, you can't copy blue to green and other things. So blue goes to blue. This places out 1,000 palms, and here you see our result. Let's scale that up to something a bit more extreme, and there we are. How these palms or these objects are placed is defined by the various parameters. For instance, you've got a height minimum and maximum. You can decrease this and basically say, oops, lowers the maximum or the minimum and the maximum height of the trees. So these are absolute values. So for instance, like this, and let's just decrease the value again so we can see what's going on here. You also got a purling cut here. Let's increase the value, which will only assign trees or objects above a certain purling threshold. For instance, increasing this will give tighter restrictions on where objects can be placed. Decrease the decrease the purling parameter, and you'll get larger areas with trees, or increase and you'll get smaller areas. Similarly, you can play around with the colors. These will be random color variations, and the size and the light. So this is basically, these parameters basically tell you how much the variation in the color and the size you will have. Decrease the color value. And of course you can create a different scenery, another tree generator. In this case, let's do item 1, which is a big tree. Couple that to the second input. Let's place out a big amount higher up, like this, for instance. So now you've got a combination of trees here. But the trees themselves are kind of crappy, but when you do this correct, it can be quite stunning. And similarly, you can create detailed objects, and similarly you set them up in like here, which are grass and leaves. We added two objects to this scene, two textures. One is the standard Unity grass and the standard Unity palm leaf, which is not supposed to be grass, but it's just meant as an example. And similarly, you just couple this to the scenery output generator, press play, and you see as you zoom in, you'll have grass. Let's increase the density of grass to something like this. Here you also got purlin scales and purlin cuts, which will limit the area of where grass can be placed. The length that you can view, the viewing distance of the grass, you can change in the terrain details. Let's say changing the detail distance parameter to, for instance, 1000, which will dramatically slow down performance. And that's it. You can combine different kinds of scenery generators and different kinds of grass. Try to play around and see what you fancy, and also try to buy some assets or create some assets that look really good. Don't use the standard Unity assets. These are only meant as an illustration, because I don't have anything else lying around. So thank you for watching.